Okay, welcome to Tanya Inside Out at G4 Tough Shin Pei Hey. So last week we discussed Tzaddikim and Rishoyim, and we also mentioned about the Beinoni as well, yeah? So chapter 10 is Tzaddikim, chapter 11 is Rishoyim, 12, 13, 14 is Beinonim, whatever, and then chapter 15 gives you kind of a nuance in the Beinoni, and then chapters 16, 17 go on to explain the avoid of the Beinoni. So we did chapters 10 and 11 together because understanding the Jewish personality is just it's to understand all the different kinds of experiences that are available to us as Jews. It's just what we spoke about, getting clear the picture of the structure of the soul, yeah, which goes from oineg through to ratzon, through to seichel, to midas, to levushim, which is behavior. And then once you've got that clear, now you can just understand which one's toiv, which one's ra, which one's available to toiv, which is available to ra, etc. And you've got the whole picture of everything. So we had, I don't know if you have it here, but we had the just to recap quickly. The tzaddik v'toiv loi is not on the same scale as everybody else. The tzaddik v'toiv loi is what? Yeah, it's really kind of difficult to call him human. We're not going to not call him human, but to call him human is mamash a concession. What?
Oh, because oneg, right?
What?
Oneg was like the main thing.
The oneg was the essence of what you are. Everything else is just
No, but the tzaddik told that's the reason, because oneg was.
His oneg turned to good.
Right.
Exactly. His oneg became Hashem's oneg mamash, and that means that he doesn't exist. That is what you are. You are an independent oneg. That's what you are. You can get, now we can go to town and we can spend decades or centuries or even millennia talking about that and how it manifests and how it's structured and how it works, yeah? But the way I understand it, at the essence of the whole thing is you are an independent oineg. That's what God created. There was God, and then he created the concept of an independent oineg. If you want to dial down the resolution on this very complex image, yeah, do that.
Independent oineg of whom?
Well, that's the point. It's just of another. That's called Shalom. It's called Sitra Achra. That's why it's called other. So really, if you want to...
Sitra Achra is the original oineg that he created, is what
the conscience of another.
The conscience of another is not necessarily a stira. That's not the... It's the independent... It's the sense of independence from God. That is only talui on oineg. The only way that you can feel independent from Hashem is when... Sorry?
You are.
When the what you are wants something different to him. But it's more than one. It's from it's that. So that's what we are. We're just a point of oineg. If you really want to strip away all the graphics, you jumped into a complex. Hopefully you'll
it's a very Descartesian statement.
Sorry?
Very Descartesian statement. I think, therefore I am.
It's the opposite of that.
But it's
I experience oineg, therefore I am.
Oineg, therefore I am.
Yes. But that's a very important point. I've said that before, that statement is true. I experience oineg, therefore I am, and that's why we're constantly chasing after oineg, because that's an experience of being, that's experience of existence, which is the ultimate. It's not even the ultimate pleasure; it's the only pleasure. Everything else is a derivative of that. It's that they remind you of all the other, small pleasures. Basically, connect you back to the fact that I am. Yeah. So, I've said that in many shiurim actually, that they guys I think therefore I am, but I would rehash that and say I experience pleasure, therefore I am. By the tzaddik v'toiv loi, yeah, that has gone. So you understand why it's kind of difficult to call him a human being. his pleasure, that thing that drives us, is just it's gone back to its original state, which is just godly. So like he looks like this, but what is this really? Like what is it? Even according to physics now, when you look
Well,
at
why do you make it sound like it's not individual to him?
That
That it's just a generic God oneg. Maybe it's his oneg that it's just completely
aligned.
transparent.
It's aligned.
It's not that
then it's
not
transparent. That's the point.
okay. It's transparent, but it doesn't mean it's not. You just
That's what I'm trying to say. He didn't become God. You can't call him God, but to call him a human is also difficult. So I don't know what you call him. He's not human. You can't call him a human.
When he goes from a tzaddik v'ralo to a tzaddik v'tovlo, theoretically.
That's an infinite difference.
Okay, but somebody makes that jump, no?
The
Hashem
Kohen
gives an
Tanya,
ability to somebody to make that leap, right?
not really. It's
makes
not
that
clear
leap.
from the
How
Tanya
does he
that
make
if it's that Hashem just kind of goes, okay, you did it, bing. Or even if they're born like that, like
Well,
they're destined for that.
David Melech did
What I
it.
understand is they have the potential, and if they work hard, they can get
So
there.
that's
How
not.
exactly that happens.
I don't know if that's what the Tanya says. I could argue both ways. The Tanya says in one. Okay, I'm just saying from chapters 13 and 14, he says not like that. It says it's just a gift from Hashem.
Oh, really?
And chapter 27, it says that he, if he works hard and what's mutter to him, and he mamash stands above what's mutter to him, then he can achieve the level of tzaddik. But you should know also in the Sefer, he sometimes is not very, or the way I understand it, he sometimes switches into like less technical ways of using language. So, for example, I'll just give you one example here, which is very important for what you just said. Where is it?
What did I say? No, it's something I said. Pardon?
When he's asking Charles, hey,
I don't think that's.
oh no, wait. I'll find later. He says that by the tzaddik, he asks that the neshama. It's easier for me to find it in my little Tanya where I've got this is my finding stuff Tanya, where the tzaddik, he says like he's asking what's the point of coming down into this world if you're always going to be like he says it's a yurid l'soich, but that the vekus that the neshama had before it comes down into this world is incomparable to what it was experiencing, to what it was experiencing when it was in Shemayim, yeah? And he says, even at Tzaddik Gamor, yeah, he says, Yesh Misha, I'll have to find this one, yeah?
Yesh Mishoyev.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
the
different
famous.
thing,
So he says in Lashon Tzaddik Gamor that for many years for me, until just recently, the last time, a couple of times ago that I read the Sefer, I saw something that changed everything. A minute. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sorry. Afilu hu tzaddik gamur. Yeah? Oivid Hashem, b'yira v'yava b'esrusa b'tanugim. Afal pichein einu b'teil b'metzias legamrei. He's not completely bottle. Yeah? V'likolel b'or Hashem mamash. To be completely bottle Hashem. Liyois la'achodim u'miyuchadim b'yichud gomo, to be completely unified with Hashem. Rakhu davar b'fnei atzmoi, he's a davar b'fnei atzmoi. This is the tzaddik gomo, he says. Yore Hashem v'ohavoi. He is, that's what it says, Yesh Misha Oyev. He is some independent entity fearing and loving God. So that's just soisa, everything that I just said, no? The level of the Tzaddik Gamor is...
But what is he talking about in the broader context?
He's explaining, he's asking the question, like, what's the point of everything? Like, especially for the Benoni. Why did you come down to this world if you can't... He said, if you can't get rid of your Yetzer Hara, what's the point of it? So he says a lot of people just come down here to just fight for 70, 120 years. Yeah. That's it, just come down to fight. Yeah, and you might not win, but that's not the point. You're here to fight. And if you look back at you're 80 years old and you still see you're fighting, you're like, well, how comes this thing doesn't just get away from me? He's like, that's just how it is, you know? And he says even a Tzaddik Gamor, who he's not in as the place that when his neshama was in Shemayim. But there's a very important word here that he says. Very important. He says, Afilu hu Tzaddik Gamor, Oived Hashem. Why do you have to put in Oived Hashem?
How else can you be a Tzaddik Gamor, is what you say?
So he
Oived
says...
Hashem means a Tzaddik Gamor.
No, an Eved Hashem is a
an
Tzaddik Gamor. An Oived Hashem isn't a Tzaddik Gamor. That's what he says in chapter 15, that a Tzaddik Gamor is called an Eved Hashem. He's become an Eved.
No, there's a Tzaddik Gamor and there's Eved and Oved.
Wait.
That's not totally on being a Tzaddik Gamor. You can be a Tzaddik Gamor and be an Eved. You can be a Tzaddik Gamor and be an Eved.
No.
Yes, of
no,
course.
No, it doesn't. No, that's not what he says.
Because you just said Tzaddik Gamor v'Oved.
No. That's what I'm trying to explain something to you here. The Tzaddik Gamor is not Oived Hashem. Meaning he's not in the process of a milchama. There's no avoider. He's an Eved Hashem. He says, like a Chocham or a Melech. Right. He's not in the process of becoming a Melech or becoming a Chocham.
I'm sorry then.
Oived is...
worker and Eved is a servant.
No. Oived is in present tense. It's a verb. You're Oived Hashem. You serve God. An Eved Hashem is when you've attained the status of it's a Shem Toya. It's a description of what you are, not of what you're doing. So that by the Tzaddik Gamor, you can't call him an Oived Hashem. You read chapter 15. He says, I'm not going to read now, but he says it mamash clearly. Yeah?
Right, but an Eved Hashem is still constantly Oved Hashem.
That's the point. No, because he's now become, in this context, in the context of Tanya, he has won. The Ra has gone, so there's no more avoider. The Milchama has finished. So he's now called an Eved Hashem.
Isn't there still an avoda of pushing yourself? Even a Tzaddik Gamor can still rest on his laurels.
I don't know.
Of course he can.
I don't know. But that's a different question. Yeah, if there's still a reason for if he's is boiche toiv metoich toiv, whatever his avodah is. Yeah, but he's called an Eved Hashem. So when the Rebbe over here says that Tzaddik Gamor Oived Hashem, he's not actually talking about the Tzaddik Gamor. That's the whole point. No, it's a very important point. He says,
he is. That's what he said. It's Tzaddik Gamor Oved is Hashem.
That's because that's not the definition of the Tzaddik Gamor. The definition of the Tzaddik Gamor that I received, from Rav Manis, is what I was saying, where the person becomes a kli zchuchis mamash. He's shakuf completely. There's no shemetz of.
I understand, but there's a difference between choosing between bad and good, which is the tzaddik versus the not tzaddik, and then there's the person who doesn't have a problem with bad at all, but he's still eino oved as Hashem. He's still he learns because it's easy.
We're not talking about that, Bechal. That's the Benoni. That's a person who's not good. He's still a normal human being with selfishness. It's just he's in line with God because he got a good upbringing and he went to the right cheder and he had good parents. So he's low. He's not a hot person by teva. That's a completely different. That's a completely different thing.
So anyway, it's just imprecise. It says over the Hashem.
It's not this imprecise. You just need to know the context. When he says Tzaddik Gamor here, he's trying to stress it the way we're understanding it now, because you can't use the words according to the mechanics of Sefer Tanya. You can't say Tzaddik Gamor Oived Hashem because it says over here you can't be a Tzaddik Gamor and Oived Hashem. See, but Benoni Sheish Shtei Madregas. There's the Oived Elokim. 1 minute. Yeah, Avad Tzaddik Nikra Eved Hashem. Be'emes Avoid Avad Tzadik Nikra Eved Hashem. He's called a tzedek name, b'shem Toya. It's a description of who he is. B'shem Chochem or Melech, like a Chochem or a Melech. Shekava Naaseh Chochem or Melech. That he became already a Chochem or a Melech. He is a Chochem or Melech. Kach Zeh Kava Oved. This one, he is already served. V'gamol legamrei avodas milchama, and he's completely finished the milchama. Im hara ad kivi al garshehu v'yelech loy v'libu chalal b'kirboy. Until that ra is completely gone, his struggle, we have no idea what that is. Even if it is a struggle, I don't know. Maybe he just has to use his mind, like a seichel. I have no idea. I have no idea
It's
what
not
the
a struggle.
avodah
That's what we accomplish. The whole point of Avodat Hashem is the struggle.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's why the tzaddik. That's why the tzaddik is meant to be the Rebbe, who everybody else is learning from. It's a completely different thing.
How can you be an Eved if there's no avoda?
An eved means you're completely nullified to your
Family life,
master.
But then you have, but there is avoda they have to do because you are an Eved. So
Well, you've got avodah to do, but that avodah is just like it's like your hand. Your hand is your eved. It's not something separate from you, Bichla.
Is it possible that Tzaddik Gomer is not until you reach it? That's basically the end of your life, and therefore that's why you never have issue with avoda. Meaning, is it possible to be a Tzaddik Gomer living for many years, or maybe Tzaddik Gomer is the peak that you hit, and then
Chaz speaks a bit different.
Remember again. Remember.
That's where you hit your.
Remember that right now we're talking. The way you're talking, it's very important to remember that we're not talking about people. We're talking about inner experiences. We're talking about inner experiences. Yeah, there's an experience that you will have, that a Jew can have, where he is. There is no him. I'll give you. It's a little off topic. It's very important, and this is the essence. Really, it's actually not off topic at all. It's the essence of everything. That there's. I've told you you've heard the Torah about Parshas Baloisecha, when Aaron lit the menorah. I've said that over before. You've heard it. So this is. I've heard other Torahs now that explain the same inyan, but this was a complete life-changing lesson for me. This changed everything. Yeah, I'll explain the Torah. Zot Hashem. That it says in Parshas Baloischa that Aaron lit the menorah, and it says Vayaschein, and thus he did. And then Rashi says that he wasn't shina the halacha. Yeah, he did it according to the halacha, and that was the shevach of Aaron. The shevach of Aaron was that he lit the menorah according to the halacha, and that's kind of difficult to understand.
Why?
What? The shevach to him is that he just did it to feed the halacha.
I'm sorry. The first time you were given a camera to take a picture, and you let's say you read a full instruction manual, you took a good picture, the right way the first time. No way.
So wait, listen. So what you said is really kind of the
Instead
idea.
of for taking a picture,
You're
you're following the
Follow
instructions.
instructions.
But he followed them the right.
Even though it's not you,
He did exactly like the show. He did
That's
it
not
the
a
right
big
way.
deal. I made
Anyway, all the
lots of
Tzaddikim
notes.
asked this question. It's not. This isn't the fact that you don't appreciate the question. That's
No, I appreciate.
the question's there. The question is that it doesn't make sense to say that the shevach of Aaron was that he just did it according to the halacha. That's like a hard thing to say that the shevach of Aaron, maybe you say the shevach of me or the shevach of one of my kids, is that he did it according to the halacha. But the shevach of Aaron, you would think the shevach of Aaron would be that he was burning with fire and birds were falling out of the sky because of the fire pounding out of him and all the whole, you know. So this is the way that I understood it from my Rebbe in the name of the Lubavitch Rebbe. And I'll add my own just to make it a little more relatable. You ever saw of Shimon Zolberberg on Hoshana Rabbah? You know what Shimon Zolberg is? Everyone knows who he is? Yeah. Shimon Zolberg? Yeah? He's a big tzaddik who lives in Yerushalayim, a tzaddik of our generation. Yeah, he's probably maybe 60, maybe just 60. And he's just pure energy, like unbelievable. And I've seen him. I don't go to him so much anymore, but in the past I did. And I took my kids one time on Hoshana Rabbah to watch him shake Lulav Nesrog. Yeah, so he comes out, takes a very long time, he eventually comes out, you were there, you saw it?
What the heck?
So he comes out and is like, everybody's standing around, like a table is blocking you, it's just like, this is the movie now, yeah, and half deal. And he comes out with his talis and everything, and he's holding the lulav and esrog like this, and he's just kind of, you see him like choking up, like shaking, like, yeah, and then I'm just seeing tears just dropping down, yeah, like just click, click, click on the floor, yeah, and then he starts shaking, and I think in the space of whatever, he got through about 3 or 4 lulavim. They just became puzzled. They all like hanging down and stuff, you know. And he should a little bit so for like, I got bored after like a few minutes, but he went on for an hour or so. Yeah. Now I'll ask you a question. You think Aaron Cohen has had any less Av and Yira than Yitzhak, with Suma Zilvo? And let me ask you a question. Yeah? The avoider of the menorah was this incredibly difficult kind of, I can't think of the word, like fine skills. What do you call it? Very delicate. It was a very delicate precision avoider. Yeah, very delicate. Working out putting the oil in, turning the wicks, tilting them inwards, etc. Yeah. So imagine what that would have looked like if Rav Sumaya or the Bedicheva Rav was doing it. It would just be a carnage it'd be on the corner like covered in oil on fire. People have to like put him out and stuff. The menorah on the floor, broken glass everywhere. Yeah, it would be a carnage. So this is the Shevach of Aaron. Yeah, the Shevach of Aaron is a moiridika. This is it teaches you the whole thing. Yeah, is that when the Avrin Yira is your Avrin Yira, yeah, you can't put that to the side. That's you. That's you can't contain yourself, yeah, when those are your emotions. But when you've reached the level of the Tzaddik Gamor, yeah, now your Ava and Yira becomes Shem Mitzvah. So in this crazy, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said this is a one-off case. He invented this whacked out case where there's no other example of this I know of, where a person's Ava and Yira could actually share the Maisa Mitzvah. Never. The avenue is always a tremendous hidder of the mitzvah, yeah? Always enhances the mitzvah tremendously. In this situation, yeah, the Ava and Yira, because it was such a delicate operation, a delicate Maisa, his Ava and Yira could have prevented him from actually being Mekayim the mitzvah. And what would you do if a guy, you see a guy trying to put a mezuzah on his door, and you see him do all the funny stuff, and his eyes roll back, yeah, and he just falls on the floor, and the mezuzah on the floor, and whatever. You'd be like, pull yourself together, put your mezuzah on the door, man. But it's all very nice having all these. The mitzvah. What?
A mile would not be a good idea.
That would be mamash scary. Oy, poor kid. So the Tzaddik Gamor is the being that if there is ever a stira, which there isn't, just trying to pull out the idea, if there's ever a stira between the Maisa Mitzvah, the Duke Maisa Mitzvah, there is the mitzvah, yeah? The mitzvah is the actual Maisa. The Kavanas are the wings for the mitzvah, but the actual goof for the mitzvah is the Maisa. Without the Maisa Mitzvah, you can have all the Kavanas in the world, you've got nothing. Without any of the Kavanas, you just do the Maisa Mitzvah, you've got a Maisa Mitzvah. There's a mitzvah as Chal.
But with that Kodesh, it's a little different though. You have to have a Kavanah the whole time for Kodshim.
For Kodshim?
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. You have to have Kavanah at the beginning of where Pigel and Noisa and stuff, where Makoimo, but not. Anyway, the Indian, even if there are mitzvahs, even like there's a mitzvah like the first line of Kriya Shema and the first bracha of Shemona Esrei also needs Kavanah, but those are exceptionals. Those are exceptions. A Maisa Mitzvah does not need Kavanah. Again, I'm not saying you shouldn't do the Kavanah. I'm just saying that there's the B'diavad Yotzi. There's a mitzvah took place. But even
I
what?
think we pass in that mitzvah strichus kavana, but it just means you need to know that you're doing a mitzvah.
No.
You're not just
No, but even that's not true.
If
In
Look at lulav. If you pick up a lulav without making a bracha,
no, but something that you can be puzzle the korban.
If you're eating-
we're not talking about basic meat. We're not talking. There are exceptions.
Puzzle the korban.
The example of Yoel Khan gives is he says you're sitting there in your at your seder table, yeah, and one of your bar mitzvah boys, doesn't feel like eating matzah, yeah. Someone, a mechabel, jumps in with a gun, yeah, and puts a gun to his head and says, "Eat the matzah now with a bracha, or that's it," yeah. So the kid basically says a bracha and eats the matzah, and then he says once the mechabel goes, and later on he now wants to do the mitzvah himself, yeah, he can't say a bracha. He's already been yotzi that mitzvah. So let's understand the point. What?
That's a different halacha, but that's
Why is that different halacha?
because that's a halacha that a Jew wants to do mitzvahs. If you force somebody to do mitzvah until they say ani rotza, it counts.
Yeah, but you
It's
understand.
not
But
halacha.
understand the panemius of that.
They're doing because they want to do the mitzvah.
They want to do the
But if
mitzvah.
somebody ate something and they thought they were eating a rice cake and they were eating matzah, they didn't do the mitzvah.
No.
If they thought they were eating a rice cake,
That's
or they
not-
thought it was Test Zion, or Yud,
two
Yud,
parshas-
they didn't
two-
do the
two
mitzvah.
parshas ago,
You need
Rashi
a-
says-
you need kavanah that you're actually doing a mitzvah.
No, that's
It's not like
Indian
tzitzis,
prayer. No,
where you
it's
need
not.
a-
It's not. It's
an
not
additional
correct.
kavanah.
It's not correct. It's not correct.
By
Just as Rabbi Applebaum yesterday, mitzvah street is kavanah. That's how we pass it.
But certain things, no, like mikveh. No, there's a whole thing.
Either way. Let's because we can argue everything, but the way that Chabad speak about this idea, they speak about this the whole time, and Rashi says himself that if a person dropped, it was like two parshas ago when somebody drops a coin.
Different.
Someone
Tzedakah
drops a
is
coin.
different.
What?
Tzedakah is different.
I'm saying that's called ha-mitzvah. That's the mitzvah. That's the paradigm of all mitzvahs. But say that this isn't our discussion anyway. The point is that the kavanah is secondary to the ma'aseh mitzvah. Yeah, that's for sure. Because you can have all the kavanah you want to do the mitzvah. There's no mitzvah taking place. But the ma'aseh mitzvah is the goof of the mitzvah. Okay, and the Rebbe talks about that a lot from chapters 38, 39, 40. So now in this unique situation where the kavanas, the Avin are so intense that they would actually share the dikdukim of the actual mitzvah, and the mitzvah wouldn't be chal. In that case, a tzaddik v'ra'aloi would be in real trouble. Again, this case doesn't exist. But in this unique situation, this theoretical situation, the human who's on fire for God would have a real problem. And this was the Shevach of Aaron. That Aaron's kavanah was the Shem mitzvah, which means who was Aaron a Kohen? That's why him and Moshe said, Nachnu ma. They weren't. He was Moshe and Aaron were one thing anyway. Moshe was ish anav ma'od. They were shchilim at the verse metoich groinoi. It was where did Moshe end and Hashem begin? The Medrash says that Moshe was Elokim from his waist up and Basav Adam from his waist down. You know where the lines get blurred. They get blurred. It becomes blurry. Yeah, that's why people can go so mamash meshuba over tzaddikim. That's because that is what a real tzaddik actually is. A real tzaddik is mamash, like in a sense. It's difficult to say it, but what?
Like a rock star.
The
star bit maybe. He's a little window to the Rebbeinu Shlomo. So what are you seeing? You're just seeing the Rebbeinu Shlomo. It has to be taken because that happened to a year 2,000 years ago. That didn't turn out so good for everyone.
Yeah.
So you have to take that with a pinch of salt. So now this is the point. Yeah, is that what's that experience? I'm going to get a bit of kickback for this. Yeah, but this is what I learned from my Rebbe, and this is if you read the writing of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, this is his whole. This is everything. This is everything. You're not going to like this, but I'm going to say
I mean,
So that's a very nice vort, and it taught us something helpful. But Lemaisa, who cares? When has there ever been a situation where your kavanas a mitzvah have been mafriya the Maisa mitzvah? I don't remember the last time that happened to me. Yeah, you understand?
No.
It's a nice thought, but what's that got to do with me? How is that lemaisa? What's that to do? That I'm going to put aside my ava and yera for the mitzvah? Doesn't halavai I should have ava and yera for my mitzvahs. Why teach me about putting aside ava and yera? Halavai I should have ava and yera. So listen, this is what Rav Mana said in the name of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and I've seen it in many places after this. And this is the side of Adam Rishon getting folded up. It's called Ma'aseh Machpelah because there were the couples there. But the Medrash also says because Adam Rishon got folded in half, yeah, which meant that his head went down to his feet. His feet ended up going above his head, yeah. So the feet were our generations. The soles of the feet, that's called Igvat Mashiach. Yeah, the soles, the heels of the Mashiach. Yeah, but that's a generation. That's us. Yeah, we're mamish coarse and. We're coarse. We're very, very coarse. What's the other word for coarse?
Numb.
You're very coarse and numb. Yeah. So. What's the connection? What relevance is that about Aaron putting aside the avenue? And the relevance is like this. We understand it. Is that we don't have any avenue that is sharing the Maisa Mitzvah to put aside, yeah? Halavai would have any Ava in Yira, real Ava in Yira. Yeah, we're so distracted in our generation. I remember hearing a tzaddik 20 years ago, yeah, maybe a drop longer, maybe more like 25 years ago, yeah, saying that the mobile phone, this was just when the mobile phones had just started to have a colour screen, yeah? It's still like what I have, like the thing, yeah. And he said the mobile phone stole the last shemetz of das from the human being. How wrong was he? How wrong was he? 25 years ago, he thought that little device stole all our das. Then comes the internet, yeah. Then comes the smartphone. Then comes social media. Then, no way. There was a lot more dust to get stolen. A lot more dust to get stolen. But look at our matzav now. Look at us. Look at where we are. Through no fault of our own. Through no fault of our own. When I stay focused, when I'm in work, when I work and I'm focused, I deal with, within an hour, I process more variables than like a guy, 200 years ago in rural Russia would have processed in probably his whole life. Like just insane amounts of. So my mind is like, everyone's mind is like that. Not forget if you're like on your phone doing that, yeah, that's just stupid because then you've got no chance. But even without the phone, I don't have one of these things. Yeah, that you're just the way the world is. Your mama's just like everything's like wow. Your mind is from every angle and every place and every just looking around. Even just seeing in a room with all these books is already it wasn't like this in 20 years ago. There weren't books like this. There weren't dozens and dozens of books all over the place. It's not. It's just. The whole world is. So what did Hashem do? Why did He do that to us? So you can say, it's just to just to shun it all away, yeah. Which to me is like when people say the dinosaurs, the whole union of dinosaurs is just Hashem's bad joke. It's just just something to test your emunah with, just a joke, yeah. Or it's not real, whatever it is. It's done intention. This answers up what that is. I'll explain. So you don't have any Ava and Yira to put aside in a mitzvah. Let alone Ava and Yira that would be mafriya the mitzvah. There's hardly any Ava and Yira anyway to put aside for the mitzvah. But he said what you have now is you have a whole bunch of other stuff that you can put aside. Your desire for meaning in your life. Your desire for connection to God. Your desire for reward in Olam Haba. However, whatever madrega of wanting to get close to God is not much different than wanting to go to Olam Haba. Maybe not much different at all. Yeah, wanting meaning in your life, connection. I know that sounds very, very weird for me to say such a thing. Yeah, but we've got all of these ulterior motives to do the mitzvah. That's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said you can put to the side, and then you're being over the Shem on the Bechina of Aaron HaKohen in the base of Mikdash, which means the Shem has, for thousands of years, has been fudging the numbers, so to speak, so that he doesn't just have David HaMelech and Rebbe Shimon serving him on that level, that he now potentially has all of Am Yisrael being able to be over him on the level of Tzaddik Gamor.
With access.
Moirid, no? That level of, I'm just putting aside all of my selfishness and I'm miskaven to the pratim of the Ma'aseh Mitzvah, the fact that I know that I'm doing for Hashem to make Yerachmiel happy, which I agree with as well.
Doing the mitzvah.
You're just doing the mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. Yeah, and it's actually even more than that, because when we say mitzvah lishma, why don't we say mitzvah lishmoi? We said there's many times. You're doing it for him. Why is it lishma is feminine?
Lishma is l'shem mitzvah, lishmo is l'shem shamayim.
Yeah, so what? You're doing the mitzvah l'shem mitzvah? You should be doing it for his sake.
Mitzvah gover mitzvah.
But you're just doing it for, like, it sounds like you're kind of separating it from him. You're separating it from the mitzvah. You should be doing the mitzvah l'shmoi, for his sake, not for the mitzvah's sake.
I know, but sometimes it's very difficult. It's much easier to see the mitzvah and not think about when you're in autopilot. You're doing it for the Shem of the mitzvah because you're not always.
But we're saying the highest level lishma. But we're saying lishma. That's not lishma. I'll explain. There's many explain. There's you're doing it lishma means the zivug of zoin. You're doing it lishma, which means the shem shechina. But this is what I've understood. This is the ultimate level of lishma. Is you're doing it l'shem mitzvah. You're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah. Just like Hashem wants the mitzvah l'shem mitzvah, you are so out of the equation that your hand is bringing you the coffee, l'shem coffee. Like, I want the coffee. My hand is doing it l'shem. He's not doing it for me. My hand is completely nullified to me. So he's doing it l'shem coffee. He might not be enjoying the coffee. I'm enjoying the coffee. That's what it means, lishma. That the mitzvah is being done with such a transparency that it's just Hashem doing the mitzvah through you. There's no pniya bichlal. I'm not doing it for meaning. I'm not doing it for connection. I'm not doing it for schar. I'm not doing it for... I'm mamash doing the mitzvah. I'm not doing it even to give you nachas, Rabbeinu Shalom.
So because it's compared to what Aaron did, that's a very difficult level to get to.
No, it's very accessible to us. And it's accessible.
Why would the Torah that's asking for Aaron? If you're comparing it.
Because by Aaron, but that's the ultimate Sheva.
But it was a Shva specifically for Aaron.
Because that's a great question. That's the perfect way. I've been teaching a few years now. I've chapped that the Rebbeinu Shalom gives you the right questions to give you a share if it's coming from a good place. So that's the right question. Is what's the Shevach of Aaron now? If we can, sounds like it's a precious thing, yeah. Like we can do it. Look at us, 3,500 years later. Look at us.
No, you need to be able to put something away. We don't have something to put away.
So that's the point. Is that it's almost impossible to put away real godly feelings. That's why that's why we're in this crazy situation. Because if you were having these when you put on tefillin, yeah, and all of a sudden you were feeling like you were merging with infinity, and you were melting into reality, and divine love was burning around you, and these boxes of ore. The Arizal says that the tefillin is protrusions of ore from the arms of Zampin, and Rochel.
Or Ayin or Aleph?
Aleph.
Because they're all or.
This is
with Ayin.
But they're protrusions of ore. We're talking about in Atzilus.
Right, that's why. Because it's like
that's what they are.
And it's like, now you have the
they're outgrowths.
That's why I wanted to make sure.
When you put on tefillin, they are an expression of your neshama. They're not like you put them on. You're right, but what they really are in Kabbalah is like a growth of light off of the arm of Rochel of Israel, however it goes. Yeah. So if you're having these crazy experiences, yeah, every time you're doing mitzvahs, when you're learning Torah, how do you put that to the side? This is the whole point. This is why it's much easier for us to access the level, infinitely easier, ironically, for us and paradoxically, for us to access the level of tzaddik gamor, tzaddik v'tovloi, than tzaddik she'ena gamor, tzaddik v'raloi. You can't act that level of tzaddik v'raloi, tzaddik she'ena gamor, where he's on fire and in deep love for God. Yeah, that's not very accessible to us at all. That's really inaccessible to us.
Why is it tzaddik v'raloi?
The tzaddik v'raloi, we said, is the guy who, the experience of the person where there's a human being serving God on the highest level. I mean, his humanity is on fire for avodas Hashem. You offer him some pizza, he's like, what? Or like, the stories with the big tzaddik where you give them a pizza and all they're just trying to work out is what the brocha is. There's no like pizza there. They're just so on fire for Rabbeinu Shalom, yeah, that their whole life is Rabbeinu Shalom, but that's the point. Their whole life is the Rabbeinu Shalom. By the tzaddik gamor, you can't say their life is the Rabbeinu Shalom. There is no life. There's just Rabbeinu Shalom. You hear the point? So by the tzaddik she'ena gamor, who's got ra, meaning there's a sense of self still, but his sense of self is in context of Hashem. Well, that's very difficult to us. That's very elusive. If you work very, very, very hard, yeah, then you might be zocher to a little taste of that. Yeah, maybe. If you work very, very hard, but that is a very, very elusive. That's very elusive to have real godly emotions. Yeah, especially with the way the world's set up. We're just davening. I mean, the real place where you're meant to experience this, he says it in the Sefer itself, the real place where you're meant to experience this experience of tzaddik she'ena gamor is during tefillah, it's during shachris. But look at how Hashem set shachris up for us. I'm not going to whine at the Yidden. It's like, if the chazan takes more than 12 minutes over Psuka de Zimra, he won't be the chazan he won't be the chazan tomorrow. And it's no one's fault. That's just how it is now. That's just how it is. You're in Eretz Yisrael, and it's to find a minyan where you can actually say. So that the answer is get there early.
So go by Sfardim.
The what?
Daven with Sfardim.
Daven with.
Sfardim.
Oh, because they say so much other stuff. It's not so. Anyway, it's still not like that.
You think the Ratzon Hashem of a mitzvah is, from a Hashem's perspective, is the actual mitzvah? That's why he's happy if he sees a human being also switching his Ratzon with the Ratzon Hashem, that's example, and therefore in line with God's will about the mitzvah. That's why it's all about the mitzvah. It's not about my growth, my schar, my closeness. It's all about the mitzvah, like Hashem has the same idea.
What's the mitzvah?
It's whatever it is.
No. I mean, what is a mitzvah?
Like doing in line with Hashem. Hashem has this interesting idea.
What's lashon mitzvah? Lashon mitzvah. Tavsa means connection.
Right,
yeah? What's it a connection?
To Hashem.
What does it connect to Hashem? Is that no one? Right. They just think it's me because we're so egocentric. Right, so I'm now connected to God. The mitzvah's there so that I can now be connected to God. Yeah. That's not what that's not the oimek of that. The oimek of tzavtza, of connection, means that the world gets united with God through you. You getting united to God, that's just a part. If you want to concentrate on that, then I don't know why you'd want to concentrate on that, but because I'm to hate. But that's not the point of it. The point is that the Rebbeinu Shalom gets united with his creation. That's called the Yichud of Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchintei. What you did is you connected. The Torah is called Za'ampin, yeah, and Klal Yisrael is called Nuk, is called Rachel, is called Knesset Yisrael, yeah, Shechina, yeah, and Torah is also called Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the lowest level of Elokus is what we call Zah, yeah, which is the Torah, which is Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the highest level of creation is what we call Shechina, yeah, which is Knesset Yisrael. And that's why it says the first Rashi, the whole thing is in the first Rashi of Chumash. Bishvil Torah, Bishvil Yisrael. So does Hashem really want the mitzvah? He wants, the way I understand it, it's such a chutzpah to say these things. He wants the unification of creator with creation. That's called the chasna of Knesset Yisrael with a Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's the yichud of Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchintei. Now Knesset Yisrael is like the head of creation. Come to Rosh Hashanah, like Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. Without the rest of the year, you wouldn't have a Rosh of the year, like a Rosh Teva. Yeah, meaning the Rosh Teva, when you have the head of a word, that's the biggest remez to what kind of word it is. That's the biggest hashpah. That ois, the Rosh Teva, that's what it's called, the Rosh Teva. Yeah, the Rosh Teva is the biggest hashpah on the word. Just like Rosh Hashanah is a bigger hashpah on the year than the 13th of Tammuz. So Klal Yisrael is the Rosh of creation, and that's where the zivug actually takes place. Yeah, the real zivug, and this is, I don't know if I should say it.
You're already halfway there. Just
the ultimate zivug is kissing.
I said it.
The Chabad with Chabad is the deepest intimacy. Then there's zivug, there's chibuk, there's other things, yeah. But the ultimate zivug, and really, Rav Hass explained to me one time, and I don't really understand it. But it's even on the lower levels of zivug with chibuk and zivug mamash, it's still really a histabkus of Chabad through lower levels. That's why it's the highest on the goof. It goes. There's the. In fact, there's the actual zivug mamash with the clay leder is the lowest level of the goof. Yeah, the lowest level. So anyway, that's a different thing. The point is though that we're the head of creation. Yeah, Am Yisrael, whether you like it or not, we are the Rosh of all of creation, and everything that we're seeing in creation is the way I understand it, is a projection of us. And when we're misdabe, when we do Torah mitzvahs, that creates the kesher. So does Hashem really want the mitzvah? Yeah. Well, it's like saying, I said this before, but it's like saying, this is a very, very good way of understanding it, good marshal, it's like saying, do you really want to chew the food, or do you want the pleasure from the food? There's no pleasure without chewing the food, yeah? It's like, excuse the idea, but with the Maisa Mitzvah, yeah? You want just the pleasure. You can't separate the pleasure from the actual Maisa Mitzvah. The Maisa Mitzvah and the pleasure are absolutely bound up with each other. So too, the pleasure of the food, that's why, by the way, you can chew your food on Shabbos. Because really, Lieb the halacha, you shouldn't be able to chew your food on Shabbos because of Teichim. You shouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, you should be able to blow it from your mouth, all these kinds of things. But because it's derech achila, yeah, we just go yeah. Like why does derech achila make it mutter? Why shouldn't everyone just die? Or have to fast on Shabbos because you can't do teichen in your mouth? Yeah. Huh?
Get on a liquid diet.
Okay, yeah. Or you could eat things that are gedule aren't gedule karka. Either way. You shouldn't be able to eat. You could take, I think you could take chita. Yeah, you could take chita. You could take kernels of wheat and chew them up in your mouth. Completely mutter, 100%. Not b'diavad in any way, shape or form. That's because it's oineg. Whether if you get into a whole different thing, I don't want to get too deep. But the point is that when you said, does Hashem really want the mitzvah? That's a great question. Because really Hashem wants the zivug of kudsha b'recha shchintei, but that can't take place without the mitzvah. So yeah, Taka wants the mitzvah. He wants the mitzvah.
So my avoid is lass es ritzoin no ritzoin okay. Lass ritzoini, I replace my rotzen with Hashem's rotzen. Then I'm in line with it. That's why if my goal is put away all the personal profitable pleasures from the mitzvah and just focusing on the mitzvah, we ask Aaron.
That's the highest. That's a taste. That's a bechinas of tzaddik gam. That's the highest level of the mitzvah that we are all ready to do, where we just take the mitzvah really, really seriously. and you don't, and this is what annoys me a lot in our generation, is it seems like all like the cool rabbis are talking about the experience, and and I'm looking at my life, and I'm like, and I work hard, I like experience, and I work hard to have experience, and I look at what I have to do to have experience. It's like, it's not reasonable. It's not for most people. I'm saying most people got busy lives. Like I say this, I quote this by Rabbi Daniel Katz, who's a friend of mine. He gives these retreats, and I took pictures of one of his retreats in Tulum, yeah, and people were having genuine spiritual experiences. I was with my camera, I'm watching everyone, with a big lens zooming in, and I wasn't doing the meditations, I was just watching, yeah. People were going out of their keilim. People were like, there were guys on the floor, like just shaking, yeah. People, tears pouring, not able to speak. People hugging each other like they're going to kill each other. They're so tired, like endlessly, like loads and loads of, just got to the point where it was just like that was it, that was just what was going on, yeah. But then when you take a step back and you look what was necessary to create those kind of experiences, everyone basically had a lot of money because you couldn't have done it otherwise, yeah. There were no kids around, not one kid, yeah, because they were on this retreat in Tulum, yeah. They were on like a desert island with no worries or anything. They were eating decent food because it was all made for you, no needing to prepare any food, yeah. Then of course you've got Rabbi Katz himself, with his tremendous powers of his boiness and what he could do, and then you've got this beautiful music. You've got these two gorgeous musicians playing the most unbelievable music with the air from the sea and this, it's no wonder people were having some deep spiritual experiences. Yeah, come to Sanhedria. Let's see. Move into my next door neighbour's 60-metre apartment. Yeah, with their 10 kids. Let's see you get some. And let's crank it. Let's make it Hanukkah as well. Yeah, and the minute you start with your Shem Yichud, the kid knocks over the menorah. Yeah, and it's Shem and Zayas. And now you've got broken glass, you haven't got a menorah, yeah, you've got oil all over the floor, and then the kid slips and bangs his head. And you don't know what to do first because he's bleeding, yeah, but the other kids are about to get involved in the glass, yeah, and you drop your siddur in the oil, and it just gets worse and worse, and then your wife looks at you with one of those looks like, and that was it, now it's like,
This can't be.
And that's like every time I go to like menorah, you have to preempt that, you have to work it out a little bit. But I'm just saying, and then throw on top of all that, that's always been, yeah. But now throw on top of that the distractions of the smartphones and the internet, and people are doing business now. Business is like geschmack, A lot of people enjoy their business. It's very engaging. It uses you in a real way, Not like it's not like selling schmutters or traveling from place to place trying to say. It's coming up with clever ideas to this and that and using all kinds of interesting technology, etc., etc. Yeah, it's not so passionate to have these experiences. So now plug it all in, and you'll realise that by the avos, the mitzvah was kulu kavana. The mitzvahs were kavana, and then there was a remez to the maisa, yeah, a simon ba'alma. They like Avram, and it's funny the Baruch Rebbe calls it on it that the two main examples he brings is Yaakov putting the vines around his arms for tefillah, which is in Bereshis Rabbah, and Avraham sitting under the tree at Mamre. Yeah, sitting under a tree was Bechinas Sukkah. Yeah? So the Baruch Rebbe asked, why put him under a tree? That's not a sukkah. It's possible. And he draws out the idea that it's dafka that. The point was that there was no chashivas to the. It was just like Avraham was so connected to the mitzvah of sukkah, he was just looking for like something green to sit under, But that wasn't the mitzvah. The mitzvah was what he was, the ruchnius of the mitzvah. No, it wasn't bring down Hashem. It was you. There was no kesher there, and that was and that was what happened at the snare, where the snare was loy uchal. The burning bush wasn't consumed. What are the last words of Tanya? The last words of Tanya is Ki Hashem Elokecha Eish Oichlehu. He's a consuming fire. By the burning bush, it kept saying, says a couple of times, Lo Uchal. So we call it the final. This is the whole point of the Sefer, that Hashem is a consuming fire, but by the bush, he couldn't even burn up a little bush. Yeah, my 3-year-old could burn up a little bush. Yeah. What was the inyan? And before Matan Torah, that was the inyan. He wasn't compatible bichlal with the gashmias of this world. He was still going through a process of hagshama, which took. Where was the makabah patish of the hagshama?
What does that mean though? What does God
Wait. One minute. Where was the makabah patish of the hagshama of this world, where it became so gashmias that it became compatible with the Rebbeinu Shalom? Huh?
Matan Torah.
Just after. The Cheta Egel. That's when reality fell down to this final lowest place where it finally became compatible with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It became utterly, apparently independent, and that is a remez, that is compatible with the Rebbeinu Shalom. But that's a very big shir in itself. But anyway, before Matan Torah, it was just the Kavana. And then you did like a pula in this world as like, to like be makare your nefesh, like to makare das. After Matan Torah, it flipped around legamrei, that it became the Maisa mitzvah that was ikar, and the kavana became secondary. And we've been on this.
Became able to integrate the kedusha of the mitzvah, and before that, it was not able to. It was just in their minds. It was the physical world was not able to integrate the kedusha. Matan Torah. There was a meeting where
this is what we're trying to say. This is what we're saying. So now, at this point, from Matan Torah to Egel and onwards, the world became compatible with Hashem. The gashmias of the world. Go. No, it's all good. The gashmias of this world became compatible with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The actual gashmias. That's why the mitzvah, the Maisa mitzvah, became ikar. Because now the point of reality is connecting not just the ruchnius of creation, but connecting now the lowest level of creation. That's called dira b'tachtoinim. Why is it called tachtoinim? Why not dira tachton? Because that's the whole inyan, is uniting the multiplicity of reality, the reboy. That's dira tachtoinim. So.
he feels comfortable in his own.
So now that level of the ultimate level of avoida throughout all the generations has been so elusive. The level of complete and total hisbattlus, of bittul. I never, you hear me, I very, very rarely use that word bittul there. But to have, until our generation, that avoida of complete bittul, because there was still the opportunity to have an experience, was so it didn't, until where we're holding right now in 2025, Tafshin Pei Hey, we now actually have the opportunity to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom. That doesn't mean that we're not serving him with Avon. We should be striving to serve him with Avon Yira. But the default situation of the world is, that you should be striving for it, but it's just elusive. It's just so elusive to get that experience, to have the Avon Yira. In those situations when there is no Avon Yira, and you would like Avon Yira, now just be miskaven. Don't be miskaven to, I'm doing this because I want to get a geshmak. I'm doing this because to say I'm doing it for nachas, if nachas to Hashem is very good, but there's the higher level is I'm doing this according to the pratim of exactly how it needs to be done. That's it. This is Ratzon Hashem. I'm not doing it. The highest level would be I'm doing it for nachas, to give Hashem nachas. And then there's I want meaning. And then I want the pleasure of doing the mitzvah. And then there's Gan Eden. and I don't know whatever, and then lower than that is that my cows get food in this world, etc. Yeah, there's a whole hierarchy of whatever it is.
Leibovich was right.
Huh?
Yeshayahu Leibovich was right.
I move your hand, honey.
Yeshayahu Leibovich was right then.
Who?
What he says, Yeshayahu Leibovich.
What is it?
Who is this? Expand
I
on
don't know who that is. The what?
Nechama Leibovich's father, the big philosopher. What did he say?
Yes. He said that
Brother.
you're supposed to be just good. It's not about kavana.
But you missed what I just said. You missed what I said. There's an avoider. You have to have kavana for a mitzvah. You have to be striving for Av and Yira. But I just said the way the cards are stacked, it's just like insane to expect that we're going to have Av and Yira at least even some of the time. So this is such a nechama for us in the times when there isn't Av and Yira. Yeah, is just being miskaven and mekasher to the dikduke halacha is the mechina of Aaron HaKohen in the Kodesh HaKadosh. In the Kodesh. What?
Fallback plan, safety plan.
That's it's not even a say. It's like, don't think that you're. See, like we think we're so. It's such a chizuk because we think that we're so chosa that we're that we've got so little kind of Ava and Yira invested in Ava Hashem.
But on the other hand, we're so caught up in what the mitzvah is doing to me.
But that is easier to let go of than actually an experience of Ava and Yira. That's what I'm trying to say.
It may be, but it's the same idea of Mesiras Nefesh because, what am I doing this mitzvah for? I'm going to give up my olam haba. I'm going to give up the covet I'm going to get for people from doing mitzvahs. I'm going to give up. I'm going to give
meaning
up
in my life.
Meaning in my life.
Yeah,
I'm going to give up because I like to do the
but
right
say
thing.
That that's the point.
You
This
have
is
to
the
give
point.
all that stuff up.
That and that you can put aside much more easily. Much more. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not so
We don't have
kosher.
a year to put aside. So that's what we have to put aside.
But the Av and Yira, that's the point, is that Av and Yira is very, very difficult to put aside. That was the Shevach of
You
Aaron.
have to have it to put aside.
But we don't. I just said that was the Shevach of Aaron. Because Tzaddikim generally can't do that. Like with Sri Maya, I've heard that on Rosh Hashanah, I didn't see it myself, but on Rosh Hashanah I heard, maybe this was years ago, I heard from someone saw him, he just was on the floor, his talus was just soaked in sweat, and he's just like convulsing on the floor. And you've got the stories of the Bavditch Varav, where he puts his hand through and then they turn over the table, because all the crazy stories of the tzaddikim from the previous generations, yeah, that's not us now. It makes such sense. Because, and I'll tell you why it makes such sense. We'll finish on this. It makes such sense because if you don't understand reality like this, and I don't know how to touch this, if you understand reality as Yeridus Adoirus, by the way, this is I think, according to my knowledge, the way I understand things, I put a lot of thought into this, is that the two world outlooks, the two distinct ways of understanding Yiddishkeit have got two very clear names. One is called Yeridus Adoirus, and one is called Dira B'Tachtonim. So interesting, they both have Dalad Reish, which is very telling because Echad and Acher and the Dalad and the Reish those are very interchangeable letters that aren't interchangeable at all, etc. But Dira B'Tachtonim and Yeridus Adoirus. Yeah, Yeridus, and these two philosophers are very distinct philosophers. And I'll try and give it to you on one foot. Dira B'Tachtonim is what we just said. Is that from the beginning of time, things have been going up. That we can now bring Hashem down into the lowest place is an actual aliyah. Yeah? Whereas Yeridus Adoirus says we've just been going down. Yeah. And at this point we are now the furthest. Now I think you can touch it to get everybody to get everybody in line is that you can say this is the inyan of Hasidus and this is the inyan of Hisnagdus. Remember, it wasn't a fight between the Hasidim and the Litvaks. It was a fight between the Hasidim and the Misnagdim. Yeah? So Misnagdim is a din on Chitzonius. Chasidus is a din on Pnimius, Lifnim Mishus Adin. So now when you're looking at the Chitzonius, yeah, a Vadai Yeridus Adoirus. Look at us compared to the previous generation, Kal V'chomer, to the Haronim, to the Rishonim, to the Go'onim, to the Amoroim, to the Tanoim. to the door Midbar, to Moshe, v'chule, yeah? It's nothing, you can't contrast to the Baal Shem Tov's door, let alone, so on the Chetzonius, yeah? You're right, we've just been going down and down and down and down and down. But on the Pneumius, if you understand that it's not to do with what it looks like externally, and it's just this union of doing Ratzon Hashem from the purest place of no self whatsoever. And according to what I've just explained now, we went, there was a big aliyah, there were other people, Yechidim of generations before, but now, en masse, if we could just re-educate the masses, yeah, we're ready to shed the eye, mamash, all of us are ready to shed the eye, yeah? En masse, we're now able to be over the Shem on the highest level of avodah. That's called Dir B'Tachtonim. So now, if you take the Yeridas Adoros model at face value, and that is your model of Yiddishkeit, then the way I see it, Hashem comes out a bad guy. He comes out the bad guy. Because what? You were mamish givoldig in Gan Eden, yeah? Then you screwed up, okay? And then you went up again by Avraham, that was good, yeah? And Yitzhak and Yaakov, that was all great. And then we had some trouble with the brothers, and we had Mitzvah, and that was a downtime. Then we had Matan Torah, up again. But basically, you've just been going down and down and down and down and down and down. You're just more and more pathetic. You now are mamash the tachlis of pathetic. There's never been anything more pathetic in reality than us. That's what Yeridas Adoros says. What?
Except that after 2,000 years of Galus, he came back to Israel.
Still, we personally are pathetic. Yeah? According to this model, now the way that it goes, the way the story ends, according to this model, is you're more and more and more and more and more pathetic, and then Hashem finally turns around and says, "You know what, Yachmir, hello. This is the punchline. The punchline. After all of this down, 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 Hashem finally turns around and is like, I can't take this anymore. Okay, here, Mashiach, Beis Hamikdash, finished."
But
that's the model that we're being painted, no?
But
of the Yeridas Adoros.
That's what happened in Mitzrayim, right? We reached Memtet Shara Tumah, and that's when.
Or you could say the opposite, the exact opposite. That we got so smashed down that we were now ready to actually be Makabel the Torah.
Or BTS and CERN, we didn't have the Torah yet, and so Hashem had to come out from nowhere and come save us.
Either way, there's nuances in the thing.
If Hashem came out and just saved us again, then that would defeat the whole purpose.
And plus, the Or Chaim says that now we fell to the 50th level of Tumah because we have the Torah. So I'm just trying to say, they're really both true. Yeridas Adoros and Dir B'Tachtonim. Just one is the Chassidisha Taich, and one is the Hisnagdisha Taich. One is the Chetzonius. If you want to be connected to Chetzonius, and some people are very connected to Chetzonius, yeah, just by who they are, then Yeridas Adoros is going to talk to you, and you'll be okay with the fact that you're just absolutely pathetic, and Hashem's going to finally just throw a dog a bone and give you Mashiach and Beis Hamikdash.
But isn't there the combination of both?
I'm trying to say, it depends how you're looking. If you're looking at the Chetzonius,
not for this guy and for this guy. Like you as a person should be able to reach the highest level of your development by being able to internalize both of those.
Yeah. But you don't need to internalize the Yeridas Adoros. The Yeridas Adoros is just what it looks like. That's just what it appears to look like. It looks like we're more pathetic than any other generations. It doesn't. That's. But our job is to be Chassidim. We're all Yidden are meant to be Chassidim. That's what the Ramchal was trying to bring to the world. That's what the Baal Shem Tov was bringing to the world. That's what Avraham Avinu was. He was a chassid. He was the first chassid. Yeah, the whole idea is to be lifnim mishuras adin. And then when you understand that, when you cut that deeply, you realise that Hashem isn't a bad guy, Bichlal. You don't have to tight shit. It's just the graphics look a little bit schwach. The graphics in the old days were like, the Xbox. And nowadays they're like the Nintendo, the old 8-bit Nintendo. But that's just the graphics. But the actual program, what's going on underneath, the graphics are really so irrelevant. You with me?
Yes.
Hello, what are you saying?
Yeah, I think you're right.
When you lift up the heel, the whole body goes up. When the heel goes up, the entire body goes up.
healed.
Except for your toes.
But let me finish on that.
Obviously
Thank you
your
again.
toes are-
That was a
you're obviously standing
beautiful.
a little bit with your
That was
toes
a
raised.
you just finished a share for me. Thank you, and I didn't mention that. What's the inyan of the heel? It's
What?
the heel. It's the most coarse, unfeeling part of the body there is. That's the
opposite of the
point.
rosh.
That's called the ikva the Mashiach.
Until somebody has neuropathy, and then that's all you feel.
If what?
Until somebody has neuropathy, and then that's all they feel is the pain in the
Well, you
bottom
feel
of their feet.
any pain you feel, but the point is, that your heel. We're not even talking about the foot. The heel of the foot is the coarsest, most gas part of the whole goof. That's the point, and that's the bit that got folded up that went above the metzach of. If you bend down, I can't do it. Yeah, maybe you could do it. I don't know how bendy you are. Yeah, but if you bend down, you can your head kind of goes in to the arch of your feet, meaning your legs are longer than your goof, your torso, which means your feet go above your. So the highest part, that's the whole point. That part of the foot, that's the part that's it's just so inspiring. You let go of all of the graphics, and you're like, Rebbeinu Shalom, this is so inspiring. You've been secretly pushing us closer and closer to reality. And we've just been thinking we've been going further and further, but that was just what it looks like. And I'll finish on with one cute little thought. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says that Pirkei Avos with you? Says that there's an iron that sees, and this is a beautiful way to finish, and it's Mamish for Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah says that what do you have to think about so you don't do an Aveira? What? What? Yeah, go on, carry on.
All your races.
No, an iron lawyer.
Go to the cemetery, go to remember your days.
There you go. Yeah, so he says, I'll just read the whole Mishnah 1 minute. This is a beautiful Mishnah to Josh. It's the beginning of the second way. Rebbe Omer, Ezoi hi derech yeshara shuyavo loy ha'odam, which is the way you choose. Kol shi tiferes lo oiser, tiferes lo min ha'odam. If I have a zahir b'mitzvah kala k'b'chamoira, be careful with a light mitzvah as you would with a chamor. Sheinat yodeya matan schar and shal mitzvah. You could judge that beautifully, that because you don't know the schar of a mitzvah. Like be careful, meaning who cares about the schar? They machshir hefsed mitzvah connected schara, and think of them as the same thing. The schar very connected hefseda, meaning don't do it for schar. That's just my touch here. But listen to this. He's talking about shlosh devarim, 3 things, yeah. And this is for Rosh Hashanah, and this ties up the whole. This should take away any misconceptions that we have from this book. Because I understand this book can be taken in ways that are not true. Yeah, the ataba l'day aveira, and you won't come to aveira. Da ma lamala mimach. Know what's above you. Ayin roya, va'oizen shoymas, v'chol ma'asech b'zeichen nichtovim. What's the question here? Why do you need to tell me an ayin roya and an oizen shoymas?
If it's written.
What did you give me extra? That there's an eye that hears and a ear that sees, an eye that sees and an ear that hears. Yeah?
Thing, yeah.
Just say he's watching you. He's listening to you. Like what's the thing?
Surveillance cameras all over with microphones.
Yeah, but you don't.
It says in the last line. It says,
And what?
no, I agree with your question.
It's a question.
The last line is enough. No?
Either way, but so what? So listen to this. Again, you can tell this. The ayin sees. You can only see chitzonius. You can only see chitzonius. Yeah. You can only hear pneumius. You can only hear pneumius. That was a very big thought in itself. I'm not going to get into that, but just take my word for this right now. Yeah. You see externalities and you hear pneumius. You can look at a guy. I've sat next to the same guy in my shul where I daven on for Shabbos for like 15 years. Yeah, I don't even know his name. Yeah, we give a nod to each other, nothing about the man, and I could draw him perfectly. I can't. I don't know how to draw properly. But if I could draw, I know exactly what it looks like. Yeah, you listen to a guy talk for 30 seconds. You've got a much deeper hasaga of that person than if you watch him for a few years. Yeah, the inyan is that you see externality and you hear pneumius. Yeah, so it says like this: there's an eye that sees. First things first is they're beautiful. You just one quick thought. It's a TV, yeah.
Yes.
Very quick thought. An eye that hears, an ear that an eye that sees, an ear that hears, and all your ma'asim are written down in the sefer. Yeah. The eye that sees is Hashem saying, "I'm watching you with the ma'aser mitzvah. Make sure that you're medayek in the halacha, that you're doing the mitzvah, the chitzonius of the mitzvah, the goof of the mitzvah is good. That's first things first. First things first. Now, the oizen shomas means I'm listening to the kavana. That's the pneumius. First things first is the ma'aser mitzvah. Now, the ma'aser mitzvah is good. Now, good. Let's be involved in the pneumius of the mitzvah. And then just this, v'kol ma'asecha. Not all of your mitzvahs, but the entire Maisa is written down in the Sefer. Sai the goof, sai the neshama. The dikdukim in the mitzvah, and the halachas of the mitzvah, and the kavana in the mitzvah. That's what's written down in the Sefer. That's what's remembered. Shkoyach.